Welcome to our Platinum webinar. The demonstration will be presented by myself, David Meredith, and will begin shortly. If you have any questions as we go along, please email them to support@virtual-it.co.za and we will answer them at the end of the webinar. Many thanks for joining us today. Welcome to today's demonstration of the Virtual IT Platinum LMS. When you open the system, it brings you onto our login screen. And here you can put in your username and password. Now once we've installed the system, you can change both the username and the password, and at the same time you can give each user one of the three permission levels we have. Administrator, where you can add, edit and delete information. Capture, where you can add and edit information, and user, where you can just edit the information. And as I said before, you can change all of these levels and usernames once the system is installed. Once you've put in your username, etc., you can go into the login page, and that takes you through to the main menu. Here you can add information on learners, clients, building courses and running courses, and thereafter your various resources. Now in terms of learner, clients and building courses, you can put the information in whatever order you wish. I tend to start with clients because during the learner input you add a learner or you link a learner through to a client. Let's go and have a look at learners. Well, we click on the learner button to enter the learner information, and it takes us through to a blank learner form. Now you can search on any of the fields on the top section. Obviously some make more sense than the others, for instance names, ID numbers, etc. Or if you know what you're looking for, click on the drop down and type in the first couple of letters of the last name of the learner, and that'll take you through. Now in this case we're going to use Jackie as part of our demonstration, and if you look at the bottom you see I've got 1846, believe it or not, unique learners we've put in the system over the years. Now we can add in Jackie's information. We put in his name and his ID number. Once the ID number is entered, it automatically does a number of functions for you. First of all, it gives the learner a unique reference number. It takes out their date of birth and their age, and it takes out their gender. But the most important thing it does is it goes through and checks to make sure this ID number has never been put in the database before. And if it has, it flags it and it gives you the opportunity to do something about it. Because with these databases, you should only ever enter your learner's information once. You can put them on as many courses as you like, but their data only needs to be added once. We then link the learner to a client. If you're working in an entity where the learners are individual, then the client's name here defaults direct to your company name anyway. We can add in equity in terms of our learner's ID. If you want to, you can put in nationality, status, etc. and a type of learner. Now if you look on the type of learner here, you see we have these drop-down arrows, which is for putting in information pretty quickly. But also, if you see a drop-down arrow, all you need to do is double-click and you can add information to the drop-down itself and personalize it. We can add disabilities, alternative IDs if we're working with non-South African citizens, and we can put in the alternative ID type as well as the number. Again, if you want to add province or region or municipality, you can do so. But none of these fields are mandatory. And you can just add what suits your business requirements. SMS groups. Here, if you have a contract with a SMS provider, you can group your learners into sections where they can be uploaded to your provider's website, and then you can put your message and just send them out. We have all the latest OFOs in the system, and you can link to CETAs. You can add contact details, communication log, where the system puts the date and time in automatically, and you can make a note of who took a call, what was discussed, etc. Education. We can add information on a learner's education, or just put in the highest qualification they've achieved. You can link to learner documents such as ID books, matric certificates, or POEs. Basically, rather than store those documents in the database and pull on memory resources, you can hyperlink to the documents saved on your computer or your server. Training needed. If a learner wants to go on a particular training course, we can pull up the drop-down here of the courses that we have built, find the course he wants, and add it. And later on, when we put a course together in the training event scheduler, we can pull out a report that will show us all the learners who want to be on this course. We can check the motivation and see if it's been authorized by their supervisors, and if so, we can put them on the course at this space. Training completed is automatically updated when a learner is enrolled on a course. Employment. We can add employment information should we wish to for maybe RPL purposes, or use for marketing later on where we can follow a learner's career and pull out a gainful employment report for them. Admin vouchers. Some seaters gave out vouchers, particularly for disadvantaged learners, to help them with their training. If you've got such a voucher, or if you're doing any kind of bursary, we can make a note here. Under administration, we can make note of any signed copies of learner agreements, or any copies of an agreement given to a learner. Do they have any special needs? Depending on the industry, do they need a medical examination? Has there been a criminal record clearance? And do they have any licenses? And in all three cases, we can link to the documentation. Some seaters require discipline or grievance facilities. We have them in the system here, and you can pull out reports dealing with both. At the bottom, we can see who created the learner to start off with, and who was the last person to update it. We can print a student ID card, either in bulk or individually, with your company logo and your company name on there, and information on the learner. We can print a student registration form and give it to the student, where they can fill in their information, and it can be captured by the data capture. And we have a number of learner reports. Right, let's move on to clients. Clients. If we click on the client button, as with the learner, we can add our client on the drop down. We can also search on the fields on the top there. Now, clients is really anybody you want to report back to in terms of data regarding their learners. It could be an external client, or it could be an internal client. It could be a department or a division, or it could even be a division and department of your clients. It's really that flexible. It's who you want to report back in whatever format in terms of that client's organizational structure. Now, clients here is a very basic CRM where we can add names, contact details, etc. We have our main contact and an email address where we can email directly from. And if you're working on a server with a number of contacts at that client, we can add in additional contacts as we go down. We can email direct from the database itself. We have a sales section that deals with this client. And here we can add our team member, our employee who's working with the client, what products are they interested in, and again you can double click and add whatever products you like. There's prospectus and the source. And then we have the sales value. But it's all in good knowing what you've sold, but in this case it's also nice to know what's in the sales pipeline. So we have this probability of sale. If I just double click on it, again you can edit the percentages and the narration and go through and put in what you require. Once you've done that, you can then produce a sales report for this client, enter in the date period that you want to have a look at, OK it, and that'll tell us the sales in progress, the sales won, and in terms of sales progress particularly, it gives you an indication of what you could potentially add to your cash flow forecast for the next month or so. Here we can print it or email direct from the database. As with the learner, we have links to documents where we can link such things as service level agreements, maybe more than one, an invoice or a map to their offices, and maybe a quotation. Under administration, do we have a copy of their tax clearance certificate? Do we have a BP certificate? Do we have the skills levy development number? And more importantly, if we want to use the system for VAT, do we have the VAT number? We can look at our client and sales reports. And if we want to know how many learners we have from this particular client, we can go to Learners from Client. That gives us a full list of the learners, the province, the region, and the type of learner they are. When it comes to building courses, we can start off by going to Build a Course modules or qualifications. Here we can add our unit standards or your own modules if you prefer, and then build a learning program with those modules. By clicking on the unit standard button, it takes us in. When the system is installed, the unit standards that are on the SACA website at that time are preloaded. Thereafter, you can update them from that site on a regular basis by importing latest unit standards from the SACA website. Basically, you would save the template from SACA onto your computer and then follow the routine from there. If your company is not a South African-based one, we can look to bring in their equivalent or their unit standards into the system. If you're working with your own modules, you can put in the module title and a module reference number. We suggest you use alphanumerics, maybe the first couple of digits of your company's name. Once you've loaded your unit standards and all your modules, we can close. Going to build a learning program. And here we can add a new qualification, give it a name, and then start bringing the unit standards or modules that make up that qualification by going down to here, clicking on the drop down, drop it in there, and we can keep going. You can have qualifications made up of one unit standard or module or hundreds, and then put in the component that works with this particular unit standard. We can then put in our minimum credits and NQF levels if you have them, and you can put a suggested fee in. Now once this qualification is built, you can present it as many times as you like. The only time you would need to revisit it is if you're changing one of the unit standards for maybe a revised one, or you want to change a suggested fee. Then we can close, go on, and then present the course to our learners. When it comes to running a course, we go to Run a Course or Qualification, and it's a busy page, but it keeps everything together. We would add, and what I'm going to do now is go through to a course that I've already built, and that's our fundamental accounting. Now the first thing we do is a link through to the qualification or skills program or course we've built by clicking on the drop down here, finding it. As soon as we've clicked on it, it links those unit standards or modules that we built in the qualification or course into the back of the training event scheduler. We then give it a unique name for finding purposes. So when we look for a course later on, we can find it, and the find on here is very similar to Excel and Word, and the system automatically gives the course a unique reference number. To add attendees, our learners are already captured in the database, so we would just go down to the next line, find one. Let's find Jimmy. As you can see, it's got the ID number, the client name and reference number to find that learner quickly and make sure it's the right one, and click them in. We can tab through, and we can add the training fees, VAT. If we'd like more details on invoice, we can add information on accommodation fields, manuals, transport, catering, venues and others. If we feed our learners, we can put in various dietary requirements, and again we can just double click and add other ones if they don't appear here. In terms of facilitators, they're on a drop down, but we can double click and we can add. We can add the courses they're qualified to train with, record of trainings. Any training they do would be automatically updated here on the record of training booked, organisations registered with, and a communication log. And if you wish, you can add an ID card for the facilitator. It's the same for assessors. On the venue, we can put details of the venue. If it's external, we can put rates to hire and a link to the map of the venue. We can add dates and times, and later on, should we want to, we can link through to attendance registers, assessors reports, moderators reports, facilitators, evaluations, and if we have training material available, we can link through to that as well. In terms of attendance registers, we can produce one automatically. This is one per day with your logo and your details and a place for the learners to sign. Or we can print one that allows for a number of days to be recorded. If you've got large groups, rather than work on an attendance register, we can have a ticking system where you can go in, each of the learners, and make a point. Are they present? Are they absent? If they're absent, was it without a note, etc. And here you can print a report for the course or an individual learner. We have an event planner where it brings in the resources automatically, but then you can record when the training room was booked, who booked it, was the projector booked, has the assessor confirmed they can be there. And again, you can print a report that has all this information to hand and the number of learners who are coming on the course and their contact details if they've given to you. If you have groups of learners who are known to each other, you can print name tags for them. It has a training calendar where you can check between one date and another what courses are booked, are they confirmed, are they still provisional. The administrator can add the course to the Outlook calendar, and then that information can be migrated to the necessary people. It has facilitator, assessor, and venue availability. You can work with evaluations. The system has a questionnaire builder where you can edit the questions or change them altogether, and then print out a form for the facilitator evaluation and for the course evaluation. Facilitators are measured between 1 and 100%, and the courses between 1 and 4. Once you've received the information back from the learners, you can add it here to your data sheet and then pull out a feedback report. We have a quotation section. We have a basic stipend recording system where the learners' names come in automatically, and then you can put in per month what is being paid to them. We have a basic costing center where you can add values, link them to a cost center, put in the quantity that you're working with, that if you want to, and then you can pull up your costing report, which gives you a basic feedback on the costs and the income expected, or you can pull one out, a more detailed one per cost center, or export the information through to Excel and work with what-if scenarios. We have invoices per company or per learner. I'll show you the company, which again brings in the information, including any additional costs you may want to highlight. We have a booking confirmation, which can be sent to the learners in bulk or individually, and also telling them the number to call if they can't make the event. When it comes to assessing our learners, we go to our assessment button, and that will take us through to our assessment page. The learner reference number, the learner name, etc., and the unit standard or module number and title come in automatically. All you have to do then is put a date of assessment, the assessor, who's on a drop down, and the result. If you're working with competencies, we can put competent or not yet competent, or we can add in other forms of results if you're working with non-unit standard qualifications or courses. If you want to make a note of a POE, we can set submitted and the date submitted. If not, the reason it wasn't submitted. Was this qualification based on recognition of prior learning? What remedial actions do you recommend? Tools used, observations, etc., and notes you may want to make. Once you've completed that, you can pull out an assessment report per learner, and here you can see that Dana Marie has been found not yet competent on the 1st of August in Unit Standard 117111, but later found competent. So it gives you a full report. Or you can pull out a report for the whole course, with everyone's information on there, or you can pull them out by client. You can add additional exams if you want to, projects and assignments. You can track POEs, certification information. Our certificates are designed to fit onto your own pre-printed blank artwork, so you can either have a competency landscape with the information there and the certificate numbers are unique, a portrait version or attendances, or you can have a certificate with expiry dates on it. We have a section for assessment preparation, moderation, mentoring and coaching, site visits and workplace assessments. When it comes to reporting, you can go to the Virtual IT ribbon, and we have reports on admin functions, which is who has been in your assessment, certification and project logs, HR reports, demographics, detailed training stats per OFO, client assessment reports per client. So if your client wants to know how all your learners are doing on a course, you would just go through, find the client, preview the report, and it gives a report on all of the learners who are with that particular client. And you can either print it directly or email it from the system. You can also leave multiple tabs open or you close them as you go along. Reports on training events, learners, qualifications, HR and Department of Labour reports, and financial reports. You can also export about 80% of the core data out into Excel so you can make up your own reports. Thank you for being part of our Platinum webinar. If we can help you further, please see our details below. Thank you and goodbye.